Welcome to the Wealthy Woman podcast with me, your host, Rebecca Barr, aka the Femalepreneur Coach. I'm an award-winning entrepreneur, the best-selling author of The Good Girl's Guide to Money Making, and the go-to money mindset mentor for heart-centered, results-driven women in business who are here to do big things. Listen and subscribe for transformational tips, insights, and practical strategies to transform your relationship with money, heal financial trauma, and become a vibrational match to millions. Plus, I will be showcasing the inspiring stories of other incredibly successful wealthy women and their journey to financial freedom and living life on their own terms. Because when good women make good money, the world becomes a better place and everyone wins when you do. Let's go, ladies. Hey Queen, welcome back to the Wealthy Woman podcast with me, your host, Rebecca Barr. I am so excited. It's been a minute since I've actually recorded an episode. Technical issues with my podcast that I wasn't able to deal with because it was half term and 5 kids and all the things. But I also think it was a little bit needed to have a bit of a realignment. Obviously, I've relaunched the podcast now. It used to be called the Femalepreneur Coach podcast, and then obviously it's transitioned into the Wealthy Woman podcast. So it's been nice to actually have a bit more time to reflect on the kind of guests, the journeys, the people that I want to showcase and all the things. So thank you so much for listening. I'm so excited. I love recording these episodes because it's such a beautiful way to really connect with you guys as the listeners, to share my message and give some of the ramblings behind the scenes, like inner workings of my brain, which is probably quite a dangerous place to be. But I've just come back from Monaco, so it felt again like a really great time to share some of the journey behind the scenes with that, because it was a really profound trip that has again forever changed me as always. And I've always said that travel is such a part of my it's my love language, it's part of my soul. Let me know if you're the same in the comments, but for me, like, travel is such a big part of who I am as a person. It really drives me, it really inspires me, it rejuvenates me, it reignites my passion. Whenever I go away and get outside of my environment, the woman that comes back to me is never the same, like back from it is never the same one that left. And I think what had happened essentially for me was that I'd had a really busy half term. I was working a little bit more than I wanted to be. And obviously I do have quite a lot of time freedom, but I also had a lot of projects that I wanted to get off the ground that felt like, April's been a really incredible energy, like trailblazer energy almost, in terms of like quantum loops in my business right now. And it felt like a really great time to really jump on that energy that was coming back to me and just make the most of these opportunities, not from a place of lack, like there wouldn't be more coming, but just it felt really exciting. And I always say with business that you need to go with where the energy feels good. And when it feels like pulling teeth and pushing like water up a hill, that's where you need to really stop, reflect, take a moment, realign, recharge, and then come back stronger than ever. And sometimes you need to take those moments of pause and reflection and literally stop what you're doing to then essentially quantum leap. And that wasn't necessarily it was just that I'd had a really busy half term and loads of exciting projects, and the kids went back to school and I was literally sitting there feeling a little bit sad, like I kind of miss them, albeit I homeschool my oldest daughter. The rest had all gone back and I felt like I hadn't had enough time to connect with them. And I think when you've got a large family, particularly, it's very important to make sure that it's not about quantity with kids, it's about quality of connection and relationship, and intentionality around your interactions every day. That's how I manage it with the kids. And ensure that we've got like a good relationship, a good, I know what's going on in their lives and all the things. So they went back to school and I just basically had this moment of like, I need to get away. I basically need to get away. And I booked this 2-day trip to Monaco, so Monte Carlo in Monaco, literally 5 days before we left. So again, I'm very impulsive as a person. And when I always say, let your yes be a hell yes and let your no be not an effing chance. And that is what had happened. So it was like, yes, let's go. So I took them out. We went, it was quite a whistle stop tour. We went for like 2 days in Monaco. We left at like got up at like 2 a.m. in the morning, arrived in Monte Carlo at like 9 o'clock in the morning, and then we left at midnight the next day. But the amount of stuff that we got in was fantastic. And if you haven't been, I strongly encourage that you do make the effort to go, because it is a truly exceptional city. And fortunately, it's the smallest city in the world next to the Vatican. So it's so easy to get around and really like leave feeling like you've seen everything that you wanted to see and done everything that you wanted to do. Um, so definitely go. Like, it's so easy. The flights were super cheap. You can get them from as little as like £35. So genuinely there's no reason not to go, because it's just such an exceptional, beautiful city. And again, I love to continue to put myself in situations where I feel abundant. And being in first of all, obviously that comes through from when I wrote my book and I went to California and I stayed in Beverly Hills, and I just wanted to be in that abundance mindset as I'm writing a book around like wealth creation and abundance mindset, so that I could really embody that energy as I was writing. But also what I love about Monte Carlo is that it's a very small city, and yet they have leveraged all of their assets, all of the good points that they have, to really get the most bang for their bucks. And I love this because we can learn a lot as business owners from what they have done, in that it's not about how many people you've got coming through the door. It's about really speaking to the experiences that you want to create. And they obviously target the high net worth individuals that are going to appreciate incredible experiences and luxury finishes. They don't need to fill Monte Carlo with lots of malls and high-rise buildings and try and fit billions of people into there to make money. It's really about quality over quantity. So again, like, we can learn a lot as business owners from that. But essentially what had happened for me, it was a full circle moment, because what I've been trying to do is, as the kids are getting older, is again like really lead more as a mentor and get out of the transactional role as a mum. Um, to try and shape their minds, inspire them, and feel like I'm giving more value than just, ensuring they've got clean pants, and try and impart some of this wisdom that I do spend all day doing with my clients. And for me, I've actually worked in Monte Carlo back in the day, and I've made this commitment to take the kids back to all of the incredible places that I went when I was younger. So obviously, anybody that knows my journey knows that I came from, absolutely nothing. I was made homeless twice before the age of like 14. I've lived on like rough council estates, had absolutely nothing, started back from zero several times in my life. And in my 20s, essentially I'd started working in events and conferences, traveling the world with some of the richest high net worth individuals, sheikhs in Dubai and incredible American like conglomerate clients across Europe and Egypt, and just doing some really extraordinary, incredible, like kind of forget that I did that thing, amazing thing. And I want to impart that on my kids, because obviously we're not quite there yet. We're not rolling with sheikhs or, first class all the way on all of our trips. So I want them to have exposure to those incredible luxury experiences and know that it is available to them too, not to be intimidated, not to be overwhelmed, and just know that this gets to be their reality if they choose as they get older. So that was kind of my commitment anyway when I had kids, that I would take them back to all of the incredible places that I'd worked, because I remember being there the first time around and just feeling like, wow, but also being a bit intimidated and a bit overwhelmed by some of it. So I was like, when I have kids, I'm going to bring them back here. So I took them back a couple of years ago to Venice, where I worked, and I'd hired a private island for a client that I was working with, and that was incredible. And we had so much fun. Not always typically the places that you would like naturally think to take kids, but it was amazing. So Monaco was obviously on the list, and I just thought, sod it, let's go. Like, the weather is nicer than here. And actually it was just so beautiful because they were getting ready for the Grand Prix. And there was just so much to see and do. The kids are now at an age where they can appreciate some of the buildings, architecture, the history and all of the things. So we just had the most incredible time. But I had a moment where essentially we were like eating lunch overlooking like the beautiful sea, and I had this real moment where I realized like how much deeper it was that I brought them here, because I'd had this moment in my 20s when I was in there. I was there the first time, and I can't remember for the life of me which hotel we were staying at, but it was one of the top luxury hotels in Monte Carlo, and it has a nightclub called Jimmy's, which is again for the super wealthy, super elite, like celebrity, like guests go there. And they were essentially recording the VMAs and Avril Lavigne, I think, was there. And I remember my boss kind of sitting with me. And again, she was very patronizing, by the way. She was awful. Think of The Devil Wears Prada. It was her on steroids, and always loved to put me down and make me feel like I needed to literally grovel at her feet. Even though I was the one doing the majority of the work, which is just, wounded, masculine, feminine energy. So essentially she was like, be grateful for where you are. Like this, there were thousands of girls who would want to be in your position right now. Like this is truly amazing. And I remember at the time feeling like that, feeling like, wow, I have really made it a long way from that girl that was made homeless and the girl on the council estate who was always told that, I had a pretty face, so I should probably just try and have kids. And, I just felt like an absolute alien and so uncomfortable within my body and my community and my home and my environment. I didn't resonate with anybody in my family, my friendship circles. Like there was just no connection with anybody. Like I always felt alone. And so like, why can't I be happy? Why can't I be fulfilled? Why am I always searching for something else? And my whole life made to feel bad or wrong for wanting a better life, essentially. And I remember sitting there just feeling like, wow, I've made it, but equally with a super heavy heart because I was in my 20s and actually I was told that I would never have kids naturally, and that the whole journey would be an absolute nightmare. Even if I could get pregnant, I wouldn't be able to sustain it, and it just wasn't going to happen for me. And I am a manifesting generator that literally always knew that I would have many life paths, even before I could articulate it or knew that human design was a thing. And I remember actually having a reading from this really incredible spiritual man in Egypt who read my palm and basically said, like, you'll need to find a man in your life because there are so many different alternate life paths for you. You need somebody in your life that's going to be like the yin to your yang to focus you. Otherwise, you will just constantly be wandering your whole life. And that was an interesting side note, by the way, in case you might want to know that, which again really pissed me off at the time. So I was like, I don't think I need a man to tell me what I'm going to do. But then sometimes I do need to take out some of the thought process in that. So it's been a lot of food for thought recently about reflecting on that conversation. But essentially, yeah, I knew that I would always have lots of different things available to me. But the one thing, like, and I never really knew what I wanted to be, like what I wanted to do, any of those things. But the one thing that I did know was that I always wanted to be a mum. And that was something like even from a young age. And it could be from my own childhood trauma, wanting to, essentially parent my own inner child and do things the right way and, get a do-over with my own kids. And that's essentially what I have done with my own healing and just made sure that I am the change that I want to be in the world. But essentially, I remember sitting back and thinking of that time, and it was like, wow, like I've got everything really, but I don't have kids. And it was just felt so bittersweet because I wanted to honor how far I'd come in my journey, but equally couldn't help feeling about like how far I had to go. So to then be back in Monaco this time round and truly have it all. Like I was reflecting on this with women in my mastermind yesterday, the Wealthy Women Mastermind that's just recently launched. And it was just a real full circle moment for me because I was like, I am genuinely sitting here with absolutely everything that I've ever wanted. Because obviously, when somebody tells me I can't have something or do something, that makes me want to do it twice. That's why I now have 5 kids because somebody told me I couldn't. But I was sitting there thinking, I have come so far from that girl in my 20s. I'm now in my 40s. And in between my 20s and my 40s, I've also had to start back again at zero a couple of times throughout that process as well. So it's not been a continual process of growth, but ultimately where I am right now, like I am obsessed with my business. It doesn't feel like work. My clients are incredible. They are inspiring. I work the hours that I want to work. I work with the women that I want to work at the stage of their journey that I want to work. I'm excited to deliver all of my offers, my services. Everything is kind of built around like my natural genius, which is obviously events and experiences and transformation and kind of facilitating and networking and community building. All of those things are my natural strengths anyway. Um, and I was so equally, I feel like I'm the lucky one because not only do I make incredible money, I also make incredible impact in a way that feels really like it's not even work at all. I've got 5 beautiful kids that are all healthy. And I've got the flexibility and the freedom that 5 days before I can say, sod it, we're going to Monaco. And I think that that is the true measure for success for me. And when I came back, I was looking at my vision board and I was like, oh my God, I've actually achieved everything on my vision board already, and it's only April. So what comes next for me now? And maybe you're at that point where, you've harnessed some of this incredible energy of 2024. And I remember sharing with you at an end of year podcast. So feel free to scroll back and go back to that. But in a previous episode where I'd had a spiritual energetic reading, and essentially the woman had said that anybody who doesn't, it's almost like a cautionary tale, anybody that doesn't use 2024 as an opportunity for personal growth and essentially leaving behind the parts of themselves and the things, the people, the places, the triggers, the past trauma that doesn't serve them, if they don't consciously choose to leave those behind, and so that they can move into this new fresh energy of 2024, then they are almost going to have an absolute nightmare of a year where they're just going to continue to be doomed to repeat past mistakes. So obviously I didn't want that to be my reality. And I thought, no, 2020 year is like my mantra is let's fucking go. And I have had the most incredible opportunities that have already come to me, even in the first quarter, that aren't going to come to fruition until much later in the year. But I could never have foreseen the trajectory and growth that this year was going to have. But that is only, again, from me giving myself space and permission to fully embrace those opportunities as they come, to stop putting things off and to stop saying, I'm not ready, I can't afford yet that yet, I'm not established enough yet, I'm not, my profile isn't big enough yet, I'm not like, and insert BS here, belief that is not currently serving you. So that is my invitation with today's episode, was to, obviously these episodes are always like a therapy session for me anyway, and a great opportunity to reflect on my own personal journey. But because I always feel like what is happening to me is never just about me. It's also always about the collective. I'm a mentor. So everything that happens is a teachable moment and something that needs to be shared. So maybe you're also at that point where you're either feeling the uncomfortableness and unease of, I have outgrown where I currently am, but I'm not yet giving myself permission to step into the next level, because I know that it means letting some things go, and I'm not ready for that sense of loss. And as women, we have a greater perceived risk when it comes to sense of risk, when it comes to loss. We don't like to lose, and that can be our greatest downfall. Like, that's down to basic neuroscience, but it's about reframing what that loss looks like, and instead changing it into a gain, essentially, so that it doesn't feel like we're losing something, we're gaining something else instead. So maybe you're at that point, and then use this episode as an opportunity to really give yourself permission to look at, okay, why am I not where I want to be, and what do I need to let go? And maybe you are at that point where you're like, wow, I've really blown my own damn mind this year. What is next? This is your opportunity to not always think that more equals more, and that you can just keep moving on to the next thing. Well, that must mean the next bigger project, more money, da 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 da. More isn't always more. So give yourself a bit of time and space before we go into May to really sit with your vision board and your values and your goals for this year, and think, what do you want? Because the reality is you are an incredible creator, and your ability to collapse time is a given. You can do these things at any point. And I truly believe that that's how I have created incredible growth and acceleration in my business, because I have focused on what makes me happy. What am I obsessed to talk about? That means that there's no resistance to anything that I'm delivering. I've shown up with a completely magnetic energy that is infectious. People want to be in my world, not only because of my own growth, because they can see that I'm still in that growth stage as a mentor. I'm never going to be done, and looking for my exit strategy. And I've definitely been in communities with mentors who are, and you kind of feel it because they're emotionally checked out. So you definitely want to, maybe these women have sensed that I am still very much in the growth stage and always will be, because I know there'll always be a next level and a next edge for me. Or maybe it's just because of, my energy and passion, but essentially that is what has helped with my growth this year. So that can only happen when your business is truly in alignment with you, and you're giving yourself permission to do the things that you want to do and let go of the things that you don't. So hopefully you'll get some sort of wisdom or insight from today's episode. Please let me know, because that's my invitation to you. And I will be back next week with another incredible episode. Obviously, I always love feedback, so let me know what your takeaways are on Instagram, the Femalepreneur Coach. And if you are wanting to do any of that deep dive transformational work and that self-healing, self-discovery, self-connection work, maybe accelerate the sales in your business so that you do have more freedom and time, create more systems, those sorts of things, then I'd love to invite you to join me inside my ultimate soulful sales accelerator, which is the Wealthy Woman Academy. This is a soulful business building academy. It's all things mindset and money. So I also go deep into the transformational work that needs to happen around your relationship with self and money as well. And I would love for you to join me there. I'll pop the details into my show link and let's effing go, ladies. Let's go.